Hello there, welcome to my channel. My name is Chantal and I had the idea to try and paint loads of different noses just to practice because that was an area where I felt like I needed a bit more experience. Unfortunately, I think there was an exact moment where they kind of went wrong, but I definitely learned a lot throughout this experience, so I thought I would just talk through what I did, what went wrong, and whether I found it helpful or not. I started by doing a base layer for all of the noses. I decided to do 6, and whilst this was a good idea because I do like this strategy, because when you're working on one nose it means the other one can kind of dry, and if you do 6 little things on a page, generally by the time you've cycled and made it to the bottom, the first one is dry. So I do think this is a really good system if you want to fill the page or you want to do several different stuff at once. It's a good idea to do multiple small things on one page because by the time you cycle around, the first one will be dry again. I really think nose studies are a good idea though. This is the first time that I've done a full page of noses, but I often do a lot of eye studies where I try and put multiple on one page. I've got some older ones on this channel, so you might have seen that a long while ago, but it was a really common thing that I did because at this time I was also trying to grow my TikTok at the beginning, and it meant that I could have like 6 different paintings that I'd done in like one day, which was quite good for content. I do think doing little studies are really helpful. I don't think it exactly worked on this instance, but I still think doing smaller studies is helpful because can you imagine if I'd done a full portrait and then messed up the nose? Well, I have. I've ruined a lot of portraits with bad noses. When it comes to studies, I've also done lips and eyes, and I actually did an ear, which I was really surprised by. You know, ears are actually really interesting if you try and actually learn them. And my lip studies definitely show improvement. My eyes, I've done about 20 eyes on their own, I would say, and honestly, they have seen so much improvement. I think my art style and the way that I would like to actually paint eyes has actually developed as I've been doing it, but my eyes have got significantly better. So are studies helpful? Yes, 100%. I think as long as you accept the fact that you're probably not going to see immediate improvement, and that some of the studies are probably not going to go well at all. A bit like today. I've done some decent noses in the past, but sometimes it just doesn't quite go to plan for whatever reason. The important part about doing studies is to try and figure out what went wrong and how you can change it. So in this instance, I did too many layers. I overworked the piece and I lost some of the highlights. Also, just a side note here, I did lots of different skin tones, and then I got muddled up on my palette. I forgot which skin tone was for which nose, and I forgot what the different combinations were. So I would probably recommend literally doing the same skin tone for the entire page, and I think that will go better. I recently did some lips, all of the same skin tone, and it was a lot easier because you don't have to focus on different skin tones. You're literally just using the same and just repeating the process over and over. In this instance, you can see like the colours started off so different and then they end up so close together because I forgot the combination and got muddled up on the palette. It's honestly really easy to do if you're drawing lots of things at once. It's really easy. This second nose was also very interesting because the actual nose itself was very light. A lot of it was the shadow from behind, and I think that was significantly easier than some of the other ones. I was really struggling to see where the shadows were on the reference photos. I find sometimes maybe the fault is actually in the reference photo that you choose as well, because sometimes the reference photo doesn't really have very harsh shadows, so it's difficult to see whether the nose is actually darker than the cheeks, and I think that definitely shows on this one. I think the angle of the 6th one is also like not fantastic, but it was about this point that you'll realise I overworked these noses. That's the biggest problem that I had. That was the biggest fault, was I just overworked these noses. I should have stopped several layers ago, but I just keep layering on. Regardless, I feel like I learned a lot more about where the highlights go on noses, and I learned that sometimes less is more. Sometimes I need to only do 1 or 2 layers and just leave it at that, because I think I also got to the point here where some of the layers underneath weren't fully dry. I think breaking down the problems areas that you have and just practicing is definitely the best way to improve. There also needs to be like an understanding that they're not always going to go well, and this was one of those instances where I broke it down, and kind of because I did the entire page in one go, that's why the entire page doesn't look good, because when I overworked one, I got bored and then layered the others, and then they kind of all got overworked. But practice makes improvement, and I'm going to keep practicing noses. And if you have any problem areas, I think there's definitely a lot that you can learn from practicing over and over again. So it's not deterred me, I will keep going. And I hope you've enjoyed watching this painting idea that I had, and maybe it's encouraged you to just practice anything that you think might need practice. And with that, I would like to thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye bye.